Hey everyone, I'm Jamie and I hope you're having a fierce day. Today we're going to be looking at DNA! A few weeks ago I spit in a tube and sent it up to 23andMe and I just got the results back. I haven't looked at it yet. There are several mysteries that I'm hoping that I can figure out and I'll go over them and then we'll get back to it. This is my family tree. There's me and my sister, our parents, and their parents. This is the family tree with original hair color if it helps. My dad has two brothers, and I don't know much about my mom's siblings. It's a little complicated, but we'll get to that later. Both of my grandmas were adopted. When my great-grandma was pregnant, her husband was upset. He thought the baby wasn't his. Apparently there was a French guy who he thought was the actual father, and her husband said that he didn't want to see a kid that wasn't his, especially a French one. So my grandma was put up for adoption when she was born. Because of what he said, I'm assuming Grandma's father is either the French guy or the actual husband, who probably has deep roots in America since he was so against foreigners, and definitely not French. So the first mystery, was my grandma actually the love child of a French man, or was she put up for adoption on a baseless accusation? If I have a significant percentage of French, we'll know. Next is my other grandma, who my mom said is a native of Taiwan. I don't know much about my mom's family. My grandpa died when I was in elementary school, and my grandma died when I was in middle school. My grandma was not grandpa's original wife. She was actually a maid that later became his wife. Because of this, all of the children of the original wife sort of exiled my mom. Grandma was the only sort of string we had attached to Taiwan still, so when she passed, the connection was lost. I just know that the original wife had a lot of children, and that my grandma only had two children, my mom and her sister. Her sister disappeared or something, I don't know. There's more to it, I'm sure, but that's all I know. The only other thing I know is that my sister and I called our grandparents Lao Ye and Popo. I looked it up, and apparently Popo is Cantonese. The Taiwanese dialect most common pronounces it ama. In Mandarin, it's nai nai and lao lao. There are many Formosan or indigenous languages to Taiwan, and I don't know how to say grandma in any of them, so maybe Popoa is also correct in one of those, but so far I've only found it to be correct in Cantonese. So it would be really cool to see if there is actually a significant percentage of native Taiwanese. For grandpa, we called him Lao Ye, which is actually the way you say it in northern China and is not the standard. For southern China and Taiwan, in Mandarin is Waigong. So he is from China, but I'm not sure why we call him Lao Ye. Apparently Grandpa's family were a very wealthy and successful family in China, but were killed during the communist takeover. My grandpa had fled to Taiwan to be with his original wife, who his parents didn't approve of, and so he was safe. My mom had also mentioned once that there might be some Japanese, but I'm not sure. I know my grandpa was able to speak and write Japanese, which could be because Taiwan taught it during Japanese rule. There are a lot of things that don't really make sense. If grandpa really is 100% Chinese, which would make me at least 25%, then there is a chance that he really could have been from a wealthy family in China. If there is significant Japanese, then he isn't, and it could also mean that my grandma was the illegitimate child of a Japanese soldier stationed in Taiwan during their rule. So basically, I really hope that I don't have any Japanese in me, or else all of the stuff I know about my grandparents would be a lie. Finally, my sister and I are really different. If we're half Asian, half European, I think I got more of the European side and she got more of the Asian. I love milk and dairy, and she's lactose intolerant. I prefer the cold and get hot really easily. She prefers the weather to be hot. I burn a minute after being in the sun and get really uncomfortable in direct sunlight. She tans super quickly and gets really, really dark. She's only ever gotten sunburned once. I hate the taste of cilantro. My sister loves cilantro. I also have wavy light brown hair naturally, and she has pretty straight black hair. My parents don't really know where she got some of those traits from. My dad used to joke that it was from the milkman. My mom says it's because our American grandpa probably had some Native American in him. We don't know about our grandpa. He doesn't like to talk about himself. The only thing I know about his family is that he grew up in the deep south and his father was a pastor. Because of that, he hated it and is not religious at all. So we'll see. If we have some Native American genes, then we know that Grandpa's mother was a Native American, and if we don't, then we absolutely know without a doubt that my sister is adopted. She also took the DNA test so we can compare results, but I think she was adopted. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Time for the results. So we're gonna check out the results now. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much with that. I'm very excited. I'm really excited. Okay. Wow. Okay. It really is half and half. Holy cow. Holy heck. It really is right down the middle. Okay, so I'm 49.8% Chinese. I thought that it would vary a bit more. Again, I'm not an expert in biology, but it's stunning that I got 50%. Okay, the others are British and Irish and French and German. French. So let's start with the European side. Okay, British and Irish. The French, I'm wondering. Oh no. Whew. Wow. Okay, Grandma. Okay, great Grandma. I see you. Hooking up with the foreigners. Seems to be a trend in my family. But anyway, 0.3% Japanese, 0.3%. So I don't think that counts. Which is such a relief, because if there was a significant bit of Japanese, my life would come crumbling down, basically. So that supports the idea that my grandma is actually native to Taiwan, which is really cool. So it says that the 3 areas that have a very strong possibility are southern China, which makes sense because if they fled to Taiwan and not Korea or Laos or anywhere else, they fled to Taiwan, and the edge of China that they're suspecting is the closest to Taiwan. So that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is why we call Grandpa Lao Ye, because that's northern China. It doesn't make sense for southern China. I don't know. This is so confusing. I thought this would clear stuff up, but it doesn't really do much. I'm so confused. This really doesn't... I'm so confused. Okay, so far we know, yes, Grandma was the love child of a French foreigner. My Popoa probably does have roots in Taiwan as a native there. And I don't have any Japanese DNA, which is great because that means that the stories I'm told about my family are that much more likely to be true. And there is no Native American, which means that my sister is adopted. Cilantro taste aversion. Sweet versus salty, that is some BS. I have the biggest sweet tooth in the freaking world. I love me some salty stuff, but environment, age, genetic factors, boy, I was born this way. I was born liking sweet foods. I came out of the womb liking sweet foods. My sister doesn't really mess with sweet foods. She likes the salty. She likes salty, bitter, alcohol flush reaction, unlikely to flush. Boy, I've been getting the flush. I get it like from looking at alcohol. Caffeine consumption. Yes, I am full body addicted to caffeine. All right, so now we are going to check Sammy's reports. She texted it to me, so I'm gonna take a look, and I'll put it on the screen as well so that you guys can see. 49.8%. Wait, what? Where's the other 0.1? Okay, I'll have to ask her. So I got my sister's full results, and the 0.1% is actually unassigned. I'm actually pretty decent at biology and stuff, so my expert opinion is that she's 0.1% lizard. She actually has no French or German in her. She's 43.3% British and Irish, and I'm only 28.8. That's weird. Her report shows that the percentage of Chinese can be traced back to northern China, which follows the theory that our grandpa is from northern China. Our mom then told us that our father actually does come from Shandong province, which is really cool. For Taiwan, we both got northern Taiwan, and we almost got the same results for the UK. We had our grandparents and dad take DNA tests as well, but it was a different company, I think, so the results came back with England and Northwestern Europe grouped together, which includes France. It wasn't that helpful, but I think if Grandma's father was a whole French man, she would have 50% Northwestern European, not just 38%. Our dad took it and his results were even more generalized, so I guess we'll never know where the French came from, but it looks like there was no French man. So in conclusion, the results make it seem like great-grandma was not a cheater, and Grandma was put up for adoption from paranoia. The little I do know about my mom's side has checked out so far. And Sammy is adopted. Even though we share 58% of our DNA, it is most likely a coincidence. Well, yeah, sorry that this video was I feel like it's just all about me, but this was a really cool thing and I felt like I should share it with people just because it's neat. I want to tell somebody about it, you know? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye!